Looks like we're live. Nice to see everybody there. Or the people who will be here as soon as YouTube tells them to come watch this video. But I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Hopefully, let's see if YouTube is even telling people this is active, because hopefully it should. All right, yeah, I think it is telling people that this is live right now. And it should be working. All right, I think it is. All right, so today I wanted to talk about a very common problem that I see with learners, and this is something I struggled with a lot when I was failing basically to learn different languages until I started getting fluent and finally became a speaker of Japanese. But I'm going to talk about English as I always do. But let me know if you have any questions as usual as I go through this. It would be nice to have some of your examples if there are things you are uncertain about. But first, I wanted to give a quick visual demonstration. Well, Jolman there, the beard suits you. Yeah, I just didn't feel like shaving it. I didn't have a lot of time this morning, so I cleaned it up a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a pain, and it's still really hot here in the summer, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, nice to see you there, Alexander and Rolla as well. All right, so I want to begin with something. I had not planned on covering this in the video, but I just saw it like a moment ago, and I thought it would be a really good example to share with you. So let's get into it. So this is a little bit of an interactive beginning to the video, but I'm going to draw something on the board, and I want you to tell me what it is. Now, my writing is usually not the best, but we'll see if we can have some fun with this anyway. All right, so here's the first. Let's see if I can draw this well enough for you. Yeah, that's not even really good. I'll try to draw it better than that. I really want to make sure I take some care with this. Let's see here. So we've got here. And I'll color that in for you, nice and black, so you can see it well. All right, so you can just post in the comments what you think this is. Let me know if this is big enough for you to see. I'm trying to make it quick here. So this is not the whole picture, but hopefully that makes sense. Now, what do you think that is? It could be a lot of things, really, and that's kind of the trick. A boomerang. A boomerang. Yeah, it could look like a boomerang. A boomerang. A boomerang. A corner protector. Oh, like you put on your like on the side or something. Yeah, I guess it could be that. Jolman says a shoe. Yeah, I guess it could look like a shoe also. I guess it also depends on how bad my drawing is. So maybe I'm trying to draw something and I'm not drawing it well. Anyway, I'll draw the next piece of it here, and we'll continue going. All right, so it's still the same image, but what is this now? What does it look like? Let me know if you have any idea about that. Anything becoming more clear with that at all? So I've added a little bit more information. For those of you just joining us, I'll keep an eye on comments over here as I give you a moment to try to think about this. Rashid and MD and Tom, nice to see you there. Hassan, any ideas? And Tom says, what the hell is that? I know, what is that? Yeah, what does it look like? I mean, that's kind of, it's kind of like a quiz for you. It looks like, yes, that's so Ali, we're trying to figure out what this is. All right, I'll give you the next piece of it. A man laid down, says Tom. Good idea. Yeah, it could be. Hello, dear teacher. Good afternoon, says Adam. We'll draw another piece of this here. see what this looks like. Any ideas if this gives people any more help? Now what does it look like? Any idea? It's weird, you kind of look at it in different ways, and I guess it could be a variety of things, but if you have any ideas. I'll keep going over here, but I'm trying to prove a point, and hopefully you're getting it now, that as we begin with some amount of information, we are often not clear about what something means. And so when we're looking at it, like, we can see it one way, and without all the information, obviously, it's more difficult to recognize and understand what we're looking at. And so I'll put one more point in this. Jolman says a ball. Let's see. I wouldn't sugarcoat the truth. I don't think I need drawing lessons. Don't hate me. Yes, I don't have a drawing teaching YouTube channel, thankfully. I can draw somewhat when I need to, I guess, but most of the time I'm trying to be very quick. Emily says, life is so depressing, life is so sad and meaningless, it's full of broken hearts and no hope at all. Oh, don't say that. That's not what this is. But hopefully, life is really what you make it. And if you can imagine whatever you like, it's the mirror of what's happening often in your own mind. And so even if things might look like they are chaotic or depressing or something, you can typically reverse that just by changing the way you think. All right, we're gonna almost finish this 1 second. So Jolman said a ball, Tarek says good morning. Let's see. And Devalda says, hello teacher, good evening from Angola. Nice to see you there, that's tough. Let's see, Swiss side equals suicide. All right, that's enough of that. Why is that? Let's see. All right. Rolla says, it looks like a bed and a baby sleeping on it. Give me one more tip. Hi, teacher. All right. We'll draw one more piece of this. What does it look like now? Any idea? What do you think? So now we have the whole picture. What are we looking at? What is that? What does that look like? Any ideas? Before I give you the answer, this is the whole thing, but it should be pretty clear what we're looking at. Whoa, Jolman says babysitting. Look at that, pretty good. Now, I saw this in a bathroom. Jolman says a nurse. Rolla says, I've got the smiley laughing faces over there. This is a sign for a baby. Oh, a clinic, you guys are pretty close. So I saw this in a bathroom. Saw this in a bathroom. So it's not a clinic, it's not for a hospital, but yeah, it could be. I could see how you could look at it that way. I'll give you the answer. Well, it seems to be like baby care. Oh, very good. Yeah, you guys are getting it. This is the sign for, I'll give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's for a baby changing station in a toilet or in a bathroom. So we've got, so it's not, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a baby bathroom, but yes, this is the place where you actually have, so under this picture, we've got the little actual station where you use the bed to do like a diaper changing thing or whatever. So yes, that's what this is supposed to be, and this is, I'm not even drawing it badly. This is a pretty good picture. I should have actually just taken a picture of it. But yeah, so this is a person changing a baby's diaper on a little diaper changing table here, and this table is directly under the picture. All right. Now, the reason I thought to do this, again, I had not planned on doing this, but it makes an interesting point about how we learn. And often when we get pieces of information, as we do when we're learning languages, we often don't have enough that we really feel confident about what we're looking at. So now that you know what it is, you can see it clearly and you think, okay, like Jolman says, actually that's a good picture of it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's basically just an icon, how this would be. Now it might be different in different places, you know, you might like think about that, but when you look at it and you know what it is, now it's very clear. And so the point here is that with language learning, it works in the same way, where often you might get a translation or a definition of a word, but it's just the first step to understanding something. So if I only give you this piece, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and all together they come to give you that full picture that now you get it, where you feel, you got that aha moment, you know, that rush of understanding and confidence when you're like, now I got it, all right? So when we're looking at something like that in context, in a bathroom, it would probably be pretty clear what that's for. So you've got the sign up, you've got the little table thing below it, so the table is flipped down and you can flip it up if you want to use it, but that's basically how it works. Anyway, so I wanted to, again, I hadn't thought to use this, but I just saw this picture and thought it would be a good idea because it's a good example of what I'm often talking about with language learning, and that's magnetic vocabulary, but we'll get to that point in a minute. So Jolman says, I've had this experience recently with the word regard. Yes, so probably everybody watching this video has had some kind of experience where something suddenly makes sense. That's the aha moment where you feel, okay, now I get it. And because you get it, you feel confident about using that thing. So it can be a very quick process. I made it a little bit slower for the example just to make sure people are taking their time and understanding the process here. But let me erase this, and so now I will leave a little, people will come in here and wonder why is there a toilet or a baby changing mark on the board here. This board needs to be washed. Anyway, but so again, I didn't want to start with that. I hadn't intended that, but the thing I did want to start with is a quick story that often happens to me. This is in YouTube videos, but this was a learner writing, and they were asking me, hey, how can I learn more words faster? So basically they were just saying, how can I learn more words quickly? And it was an explanation of their problems and a typical kind of thing I would get like in a YouTube comment, or often we get mails from learners. So again, they're asking me, how can I learn more words quickly? And we wrote back saying, hey, why do you want to learn more words? There are lots of errors with the words you're using right here in this mail. So often we get mails from learners every day, actually, where people are describing their problems or asking for help about certain things. And so this mail was pretty typical of people who know a lot of English, but there are actually quite a few errors, even basic ones, with using, prepositions incorrectly or subject-verb agreement, like very, very kind of low-level stuff. There was some other more advanced vocabulary in there, but lots of basic mistakes. And I see this pattern a lot with people learning. And so when people ask me, how do they learn more vocabulary, I often ask them, why are you trying to learn more vocabulary when the vocabulary you have isn't really working? And so I often I explain this to people as like a leaky bucket. So imagine if we have a bucket here, another one of my beautiful drawings, but we have a bucket here, and you can think about each time you learn a new word or you understand something better, that's another little drop that goes down into the bucket over here. But what I see happening with many learners is their bucket has holes in it. Basically, you can imagine there's, a couple of holes at the bottom of this, and so words go in and then they quickly go out the bottom. And so people lose the words that they learned, or maybe they know them, they can understand them when other people are using them, but when they try to speak, they still have trouble understanding things and using them fluently and confidently. So again, the basic idea, if you want to learn more vocabulary, which is great, everybody should know lots of vocabulary, and I know people enjoy learning new words, but if you have a leaky bucket where you're not actually remembering things or you don't know them very well, then you're going to struggle to speak, okay? So the problem for most learners that I have experienced, it's people typically not knowing the words they have already very well. All right, and it's actually quite easy to do that. It's actually much easier to learn vocabulary that you already know and know it well, rather than try to add a whole bunch of new things, because a completely new word it's all new information to integrate and to start understanding and to take time to get examples for. So how do you actually keep the vocabulary in here? How do we get rid of these holes? So we want to remove any holes in the bucket so it doesn't leak. So that way when you learn new things, it actually stays in there. You know, the bucket is filled up with lots of words, and you can remember and you can speak easily. And when you have this is what I call magnetic vocabulary. So what I mean during the language learning process, there are kind of two pieces of this. The first one is where you're basically just trying to understand something. Like when I gave you the example of the baby changing station icon, we just want to understand what something means. And so this is like I talk in my book about the strangest fluency secret. People often have uncertainty about words, but they also have uncertainty about communication. So uncertainty about words is like, what does something mean, or how can I use it, or am I expressing it in a polite enough way, or is it appropriate or natural for a particular situation? And then so the other one is actually being able to use that thing. You have basically communication. Communication confidence. So when you first learn a word, just like we were doing with the baby changing example, at first we need a couple of examples, we need a couple of pieces to really understand how the whole thing works. And once you see it all together, just like when you get enough examples of a word, it clicks and you get that aha moment of understanding, and now, oh, I understand the word. All right, but often that is not enough for people actually trying to communicate, because when you get into real conversations with people, they may say something different, or they may use a different accent that you're not familiar with. There are lots of different variables because real communication is unpredictable. So we want to make sure we're doing both of these things, and when you have both, you have magnetic vocabulary. And if anybody watching this has already read this, I talk about this in detail in my book, The Strangest Fluency Secret, and you can pick that up if you'd like with the link in the description below this video. But when I'm talking about magnetic vocabulary, I'm talking about these two ideas, so understanding the thing well and actually feeling confident about using it. And if you have a magnetic vocabulary, that's what lets you speak, because confidence in your words is really what gives you confidence in communication, okay? So again, with the leaky bucket example, many people know words and they can understand a lot, but often their bucket is leaking, so they don't really feel very confident about what they know. The words go in, they don't know them very well, maybe they forget the words or just have trouble understanding how to use them. It means your words are not magnetic. They're not magnetic to you. Like, you don't know them very well, you don't understand them, you don't actually remember them, and they're not magnetic to each other. When I talk about that, again, I lay this out in the book, but this is basically what people need to speak. And the reason people need to have magnetic vocabulary when they're trying to speak is it doesn't matter where you live or how old you are, or even if you're married to a native speaker, if you don't feel sure about what you want to say, then you're going to struggle to express yourself. All right? So that's the basic idea about magnetic vocabulary, and I wanted to help you if there are any things maybe some vocabulary, grammar, or whatever that you maybe struggle with. But let me show you how I do this both in my program, like in Fluent for Life, but also just in my own home when I'm helping my own kids learn a language. So just like we did with the baby changing example, we want to help people really understand things. So we've got that first step of understanding, and then the second step of seeing how things are used in a variety of situations. So you might hear it at different speeds or different tenses or different accents, different situations, different contexts, all of that stuff. That's gonna annoy me looking at this kind of baby changing thing. I'm gonna flip that around. And now we got, all right, which would you rather look at? You can choose. Do you want the baby changing, or do you want the, it looks like a whole bunch of Japanese on the back? Which would you prefer? The baby change, I think we'll go with the Japanese for today. This one is a little bit red, but we'll be okay, I think. Anyway, yeah, I think somebody asked before about how to clean it. I use I don't know what it's called. It's a kind of little white sponge here in Japan called like a gekyochikun, but it's, I don't know what it is. It's just I think a sponge with some kind of chemical, but it's good for wiping off whiteboards. But I think it also might mess them up a little bit. So the eraser doesn't work so well for that, as you can see. Anyway, so here's an example from just my own house and talking to my daughters. And so I see them playing with their toys on the floor, and it's time for dinner, and I say, hey, you guys need to clean up your mess. Now I've used this for quite a while, you know, clean up your toys or clean up just your mess in general, or I might say you have a messy room or a messy floor or a messy space, all right? But this is typically when English-speaking children are learning about words like this thing for cleaning up stuff. Obviously, kids make a lot of messes, so to make a mess. And as they hear these different examples, they really come to understand what something like this means. So we're focusing on a particular word, but we hear different ways it can be learned or different ways it can be used. And as you get these different examples, you start feeling more confident about really how to use things and then how you can take something and apply it in different ways. But also, you're prepared for how natives might use that. So I might give them these examples and I say, hey, like don't make a mess. So I could say don't make a mess, like don't make a mess in here. Or let's say I have, sometimes I often tell my kids like don't mess with the wires. Don't mess with the wires over there. So don't mess with those. So here they have a slightly different use. The phrasal verb to mess with something means to change it. I'm going to maybe make it worse by touching it or doing something to it. So obviously if kids, you have, you know, the little like internet modem or router or whatever, and it's got cables and there's a couple different cables and the kids are playing under the table and then they touch a wire and disconnect something. Oh no, they just messed with the internet. So I say, who messed with the internet? Who stopped the internet or made it not work? So mess with becomes a really useful term where you can talk about anyone changing something like, oh no, my computer settings look different. Who messed with my computer? Or I'm doing something in the kitchen and I'm trying to bake something, but maybe somebody comes up and actually cleans or removes some of the things I'm using, and I say, hey, who messed with my meal over here? Or who messed with my station, like my little area where I'm cooking? And so here we can get a lot of good examples of how people might use a word like this, and it's really not just learning a word mess, but it's seeing all of the different examples working together, this naturally varied review, that really makes the vocabulary magnetic. So you understand it well, you know how you can use it, you feel confident about it, and that way, all right, we're spending a little bit more time with it, but because we do, now we have something we really remember and we can feel confident about using, okay? So it's typically a pretty quick thing, especially when you're getting more examples of things like this. You know, maybe you're watching a movie and you see, like, I don't know, some woman wakes up in the morning and I don't know, maybe she's like, her hair is, you know, not done well, just, you know, obviously waking up in the morning, and she says like, like I look like a mess. I look like a mess. I look like a mess. Like I look like a mess. Like I look messy, you know. But this is another very common expression you'll hear when people are describing themselves, or even you could use it to describe other people. Like, you look like a mess. Like, what happened to you? You know, like, so somebody comes back, maybe they were in a fight or something like that. And so if, you know, let's say some person, you know, they got like dirt and scrapes and things on their face or whatever, you look like a mess. You look like a mess. And again, the point is not to add a whole bunch of vocabulary, it's to really make sure you understand it well. But you can notice we're not just taking the word, like mess, and repeating it again and again. The repetition doesn't make it more useful for you because it doesn't help you understand it better. It's all of the examples working together that really make that vocabulary magnetic for you. So if I teach it to you well, then you will have that locked in. It will be stuck to you. It will be magnetic to you, and also you will see how we can make things like make a mess. That's interesting. Or we got mess with, or we can mess something up. Same idea. Like, let's say I'm trying to write, I'm learning some Japanese characters over here. I'll write them up here. So I'm trying to learn to write the word tree in Japanese. So let's say I don't know, I'm just, there we go. That's the Japanese character for tree, ki. Now, does that mean if you don't know what that is, and if you don't know Japanese, you don't know if it's like a good thing or not, but like it's kind of it's like a messy looking. It's messy, you know. It's not the very cleanest looking character, messy. So I could draw like a kind of messy character. Let me try to draw this cleanly again. Okay, that looks better. It's still not perfect, but it looks better. But let's say I draw it. So I draw it like this, like. Oh no, I messed up. All right, so this one is messy, and this one I messed up. Oh no, I messed up the character. So if I'm making a mistake about something, I messed it up. Like I started with this line instead of this one, and you can see it clearly doesn't work. Yeah, so this is Japanese. I think maybe the same character might be in Chinese as well. I don't know. I only know Japanese. But so we've got a cleaner, so I'm not really drawing this very well. I'm not the greatest drawer, even in English. Even my writing, you can see, is not that great. My writing is a little bit messy as well. So messy writing, like a messy room, a messy writing, messy penmanship. So penmanship is my ability to write. But here we've got like a messy character. So even if I draw it correctly, like, you know, maybe I don't know, it just looks kind of messy, even if it's correct. So it could be messy. But if I mess it up, then that means I'm actually incorrect with the way that I'm writing it. All right, so if I start with this line and then this one, and then there we go. The kanji for, or the Chinese character here for tree. Oh no, I messed it up. I wrote it incorrectly. So children, often they are, you know, trying to write something or learn how to do something, and I messed it up. So I'm trying to teach my child how to ride a bike or how to do anything, and if they mess up that thing, then they made a mistake or they couldn't do it correctly. So messing up something is a very common way to describe that. So Tom says, so messy is almost correct. Messy is not really about correct or incorrect. The point is more, does something look pretty or neat or clean, or does it not? So I could, like, let's say I draw the character correctly. I'm just like, it's kind of like, it's just not very clean looking. So maybe it's correct, like I wrote the character correctly, but it's a little bit messy, So you can be messy and still be correct. Messy isn't necessarily bad or incorrect. Again, it's just how something looks typically. So like you could have like things in a mess. So let's say I take, for example, I'll erase some of these. So when I'm giving these examples to my kids, and I might give a few of them at the same time just to make sure they understand them better, but often they will hear these things over time. They will continue to hear examples of them, and they will feel more confident about using them. So like my kids say like, oh no, I messed up my work. So before they did not know the word, and now they do, and now they know how to use it correctly and confidently. But it's not because they were sitting in their car on the way to work and listening to someone repeat the word mess up, mess up, mess up. The point is they understood it, they felt confident, the vocabulary became magnetic to them, and so now they feel confident using it. It's pretty easy, all right? So let's say we've got, here are a couple of dots here, and these are in a row, or you could say in a line, same kind of thing, in a row, in a line. But now if we take them and we move them around, now they're in a mess. Got a messy situation over here. So I've taken something, I've introduced disorder, or because it's not really clean or not clean, but I'm messing it up. Okay, so someone had maybe a beautiful line of dots over here, and then I came and I messed up your dots. All right, so I have my 3 markers here, sitting beautifully on a table. I'm going to take a picture of my markers, and then somebody comes and now they messed up my beautiful scene of 3 markers. So now they're all in a mess, okay? So again, it's a little bit more chaos. It's just not clean or ordered. That's the idea. But notice how as you get more examples, you feel more confident about using it. It becomes more and more magnetic, okay? So you can also describe like, you are, feeling like kind of nervous, or whatever, you're nervous about something, you're worried, I'm a mess. So instead of even talking about looking like a mess, you could actually just describe yourself in that way. Like, oh, I know, I'm a mess. I got 2 different socks on, and I forgot to wear pants when I left my house because I'm thinking about, some problem at work, and I have these other things I'm worried about. I'm a mess. So instead of me having an ordered and clear mind, my mind is all messy. So I am a mess. I'm a mess. I may not look like a mess, but I feel like one. So I am a mess. All right? Everybody getting it? So when people think about learning vocabulary like this, often they think they just need to learn more, when the real test is, do you feel like your vocabulary is magnetic or not? Do you feel like you could use it without a doubt? When a native uses it in a different way, would they make it confusing for you, or would you think, I understand exactly what they mean by that? So a woman, kind of runs up to you like, I'm a mess today, and they're trying to explain something, but you understand exactly what they mean, okay? And at each step, you should be getting a couple of aha moments here as you get more examples of things. It's not just like one thing and then it stops. And just to be clear, the point is never to be like 100% certain about like every usage of a word. It's just the things you want to say, do you feel confident about them? And do you feel confident when other people are using even the vocabulary you already know, but maybe in a new way? Okay. So when I'm teaching my kids at home or I'm teaching people in Fluent for Life, the whole purpose is to really make sure people have that magnetic vocabulary so they feel confident using things. All right, so that's the basic lesson portion of the video, but for people who might have questions about something, hopefully maybe something is perhaps not magnetic for you, but I can help you with that. So whether it's some vocabulary or grammar or something else you'd like to know, let me know. I will go back and look at chat, but if you have questions about things, let me know, and we can see if we can fix that for you. But it's actually quite simple. Again, you don't need to sit and practice repeating things again and again. It's just really making sure you understand how the vocabulary works. Let's see. Did anybody, let's see. All right, so Shiab says, I'm from India. I send an email, please reply. It says Rashid. All right, Z says, your teaching style is too efficient. I'm addicted. So here you would say, I'm addicted to. You could say the style is addictive, but you would say, I am addicted to it. Love from Bangladesh, don't mess with my teacher. Yes, that's another good use of it. Instead of talking about like the example before, don't mess with the cables or the wires under the table, you could say don't mess with a particular person. Like you don't want to mess with that guy because he knows how to fight and he might beat you up. So don't mess with that guy. Or someone's in a bad mood, so don't introduce any disorder into their life or try to make them feel bad. Fiston says, hi, and Jude says, I am here. Ganesh waving over there. Tom with the correct, clean, unmessy character for key. Ruben says, don't mess with a boxer socially at some night. Yeah, that's right. And I think we got it. And then Ruben says, I'm a mess. Yeah. And Tom says, great. And Alvanir, excuse me. Hi, everyone. Just to keep it a little fun, I am remembering the brilliant soccer player Messi. Yeah, who usually made a real mess during the matches. Yes, he often made a mess of other teams. So to make a mess of something. So this could be like in the case of Messi, like he made a mess of the other team. So he's running around the field and doing interesting things and scoring goals, and people just don't know what to do. Like they're kind of in a mess, or they are messed up. All right, so he messed up the other team. So to make a mess of a particular thing. So just like I can make a mess of somebody's design, or like these dots over here, someone had them nicely lined up and then I made a mess of their dots. So Messi made a mess of the other team. So when you feel confident about using things, you will be able to use them without thinking or translating or hesitating, any of that. So Tom says, I got it. Rolla says, yeah, lots of aha moments. Any doubts, you guys? Well, you guys are maybe going to make this a short video for me today. It's only been half an hour. But yeah, this will let me get back to work then, doing lots of writing over here. But thank you for joining me. Again, if anybody has any questions, I can take a little bit of time to answer those. I wanted to just explain how this process works. But when you get those aha moments and you actually feel confident about using something because you understand it, your world changes. You actually are able to use the vocabulary well, and it's not just like, you know something a little bit and maybe you can understand when other people are saying things, but you actually feel confident about using your words. All right, Ruben says, any examples of when or how to use clumsy? Is it the same as messy? Good example. We'll cover that then. So when we're talking about like doing something in a clumsy way or describing a person as clumsy, this is usually just talking about physical motion, or we could be talking about, here, I'll just write the word up for everyone. So if I'm, let's say, trying to just walk down the street, even just a very basic thing, everybody knows how to walk, but I don't know, I always find something to trip on, and and I don't know, I like fall over easily or whatever. But those are the kinds of things that can happen when you are just physically clumsy. But you can also be clumsy in a figurative way, like I'm clumsy with my words. So let's say I don't know, and I could do this in a variety of ways. Maybe I'm talking with someone, and I like either I don't express things clearly, I'm speaking in a clumsy way, or I just say something stupid like oh, your breath doesn't smell very good. So if I'm talking with someone, like that's me just being kind of stupid. I mean, that's even worse than clumsy, really. But clumsy is often you're kind of making uncontrolled mistakes. So if you have questions or concerns about things, that would really make a difference if you're I don't know, like if you're trying to do something but you're not very skilled with it. And some people, like they try to grab a dish, but they don't really hold it very well and the dish falls and breaks. So those are the typical kinds of things that happen when people are clumsy. But again, you could be clumsy physically, or you could be clumsy with kind of what you do, like what you're expressing. All right, let's see here if anybody Ruben, let me know if that makes sense though. So Tom says, be confident and make your questions to teacher Drew right now. Yes, my world changed when I start talking like you. I think it is a dream. Well, very good. Awesome, Roll. Rashid again, send an email. Please reply to my email you sent. Yes, we got the message, or at least I get your message here if you're talking about sending me an email. But of course, I'm not on my computer right now, so I wouldn't be able to read any email I'm getting anyway at the moment. But I think that's it. Look at that, a nice short video, but hopefully people get the idea here where the goal is not simply to just know more, which is great if you can. It's always fun and great if you can build your vocabulary. I know a lot of people want to do that, but make sure the bucket is not leaking if you're putting new things into it. So especially vocabulary you already know. If you don't know it very well, then what's really the point? You're maybe going to understand things a little bit better when you listen, but maybe you'll still have trouble when you write or when you speak. So most of the people I help, it's not because they don't understand, it's because they don't themselves feel confident about using what people are learning, basically. All right, so Tom says it was cool to understand today's lesson. Glad to hear it. Ruben says great explanation. Thanks a lot. Look at that. Always got some nice. Yeah, it's good to get those crazy emojis. I feel old now. I remember like the only emoji we had was just a smiley face like that. But anyway. All right, well, that's enough for me. Then I can get back to writing because I'm still working on the last 2 chapters of the book. So again, if you want to learn more about magnetic vocabulary, we do talk about that in the book and explain why it's useful to learn that way. Obviously, the point is if you want to speak, we really want to know things. But you're not going to get that simply by repeating things again and again. You really need to get a variety of examples, and not only like for me, so people might be trying to learn with like ChatGPT or something, and ChatGPT is useful for giving you lots of examples like this, but you still need to feel prepared for how regular people actually speak. And so often people might express things in a different way, or maybe they have a different accent, or they're fast, or they mumble, or whatever. So ChatGPT is very helpful. I actually talk about that in the book also, about how people can use ChatGPT in a more effective way to improve. But yeah, let me see if I have any more questions here. Uzmanov says, hi, Drew. I get confused about using been, being, has, have, V3 in passive sentences. For example, when should I say has been done versus is being done? Can you explain the difference with some examples? All right, we'll try to keep this simple for you. We'll take that one specifically. Often when you're trying to focus on a particular grammar point, try not to think about it as like the rules and think about it more like what is the situation happening. I describe this in the book as well, about these two kinds of learning, this directional process, like you're going left here from the pieces of the language, or going right from the pieces, or left where you're trying to understand things in situations. And then often if you just learn the rules of things, it becomes more difficult to figure out how to use them. But if you see different examples of people using things in a particular way, you come to understand the grammar without even knowing what the rules are. So typically native speakers, they don't know what, like rules of the past perfect or something like that is. But understanding that, just keeping that in mind, remember, try to think about what is happening or what are you trying to describe, and then think about the words you might use for that. So I think the specific example you were asking here was, has been done, let's see, write this up here, has been done versus is being done. Okay. All right, just to make this very simple, often when I'm teaching vocabulary like this, like focusing specifically on grammar, we want to build up your understanding to start with something simple. If you think about something like has, like we're talking about maybe holding something or possessing it, or it's a part of you. So even has, like I have a tan shirt, like a light brown shirt here, or I have a marker, or I have green eyes, or I have short hair. So I can talk about things like that. Or I can try to describe the thing, like something is, like my hair is short. So I'm describing the hair rather than talking about my relation to that thing. But just so you understand, like has been, now we're gonna look at both of these things together versus is being. When we talk about something like using a tense in this way, like something has happened, or like I have been, or I have done a particular thing, just like I gave the example before, and I forget what video, I've covered this in a few different videos, but just to make it clear for you, again in this one, because it is a common thing. So I have a marker, I have two hands, I have two eyes, I have an idea, so it's something even inside my head, it's not a physical thing, but I still have it, and I can also have experiences. So when I have experiences, I can talk about saying like, I have played, like I have done a particular thing. I have played the piano. I have been, so I have been to a particular place. I have been to China. I have been to India. I have been to wherever. So if I'm talking about specific examples, what I really mean is that I have the experience of that thing. So it happened in the past and I still have it. So I did something. If I want to talk about just the experience by itself, I might say like I played baseball, just using the simple past to describe the activity. But in this case, I'm talking about myself. I have this experience. So I have the experience of whatever that thing is. So I have played baseball. I have been whatever. So if we think about it like that, we're talking about like having the experience of something. If something was already finished, so it has been done. So it's already complete. So in the same way, like I played, or I have been to Tokyo, or I have eaten pizza, something like that. So anything, even though it happened in the past, it's still complete. So the difference between these two becomes something has been done, like it's already finished. All right, so if we're talking about a timeline here, so this is in the past, this is now, and the thing was completed then. So someone was building a house and it has been done. So it has been done, we can even talk about the time since it was finished. Like it has been done for a week. So we're talking about this amount of time over here. Someone was building a house, they finished, and now it has been done. Like we can just talk about it has been done, like someone already made it. It has been done for a week. So that's the amount of time since it happened to now. So it has been completed. But is being done, it means basically like we're still building the house and we're kind of right maybe at the end of finishing it. But if you think about stages of building a house, maybe we start here, this is the middle part of building it, now we're at the end, and so it is being done right now. And it could be like the end of it. I mean, we could even be in the middle of the process in some way. I mean, even if we like just start, you know, like we could use this term like is being done at any point, really. But if I talk about like it's happening right now, that's another way of saying the same thing. But it is being done, like right now we're talking about the activity happening. It is being done. So it is being built right now. Like I have, I don't know, this marker in my hand and I am writing. So some sentences are being written right now. They are being written. But now I stop and some sentences were written. So they have been written already. So just looking at these two, one is talking about something that was already finished, and then the other is something that is continuing to be worked on. So here, like is being done, it's kind of a more complicated way of just saying someone is doing it right now. But it's happening at the moment. And so it sounds weird when we talk about done, like it sounds like it's finished, but that's just a different use or a different meaning of the word to complete something. Okay? So again, we're talking about someone doing it. We don't mean it's actually finished, but we mean it is happening right now. So this lesson is being taught right now. All right? So learning is happening, learning is being done, education is being, you know, it is going on right now. But anytime you see like is and is being, you know it's happening right now. So don't be confused about like the fact that the word is done. Done doesn't mean finished here, it just means like activity is happening. It's just, it might be easier to understand if you use a different verb instead. And again, this is why we try to give some naturally varied review. We want you to see a variety of examples. So if I have these sentences here, so sentences or maybe one sentence is being written right now. So it doesn't mean I'm finished with it, and it just seems more confusing because you use the word done, which also means completed, all right? So if I ask, like, you know, my daughter, hey, is your homework done? So is it done? Is it complete? So that's a little bit different than like, are you doing it right now? So is your homework done? And she said, no, well, it's being done right now. So I'm working on it. But most people don't speak in a passive way like that. They just actively say, no, I'm working on it right now, or I'm doing it. So I am doing it. But the passive way is like, it is being done right now. Okay? You feeling it? All right, so again, when we're trying to think about like learning this, and even if you're doing this by yourself, you begin with something simple that you do know, and then work from there. You know, where we're like, okay, I understand like has and is, and we might be confused by, you know, knowing that like a word might mean different things in different situations. But again, we try to have some kind of anchor of a thing that we do understand and begin there, and then see how, like this one here, like I have, like this is not like a really technical thing, although it seems more difficult because we're connecting, you know, two of these verbs together. But all we're really saying is I have a marker. Like people think that's a very basic sentence, but I have an experience is also a very basic sentence if you think about it. So same thing here. So has been done is like when we talk about has, that's the past right now, and there we know like done here, it still means kind of like we're talking about the action of doing it, but again, it's easier to understand if you pick a different verb instead. So my daughter could say, yes, like my homework has been finished. Or I could say my homework has been written, in the sense like, okay, now we're recognizing, yes, like it's already finished, you know. And now we could even make it a bit more complicated. It's like it has been going on for a particular amount of time, and that could mean it's still happening. So if someone is building a house and it's now, like we don't actually have this stuff in the future yet, but it started here and it has been happening, you know, like someone has been doing it for a while. But in that case, we would say like it has been happening, or we have been doing it. So we're still talking about the past, but we're connecting it to the present as well. Okay? So it seems a little bit tricky, but you know, it gets messed up in your mind. You know, we have to untangle some things. But begin with something simple and try not to begin with just like a grammar point and try to understand logically what it means. Try to think about why people are using things, and this is why, like in the book I talk, it's so important about going from situations back to the pieces of the language, like grammar points or vocabulary or pronunciation or whatever, because in a real situation it's a lot easier to understand what's happening. You can see somebody still writing or still building the house or whatever. And so if we think, oh, okay, like they have been doing it for a long time. In that case, it's like, oh, like it's still continuing. So we can see, like I have been teaching in this video for 56 minutes. So the video started 56 minutes ago and I'm still doing it. So I could say like I started here, or if I want to talk about it began and it's continuing and it's still happening now. So the video has been going on for 56 minutes. Okay? So find some kind of anchor that you know and you understand and begin, you know, just trying to manipulate the language. It's understandably a bit more difficult by yourself, but if you try to think about what you're learning and you also look at situations instead of just only beginning with the pieces of things. So often when people ask me, what does this word mean? Or how do you pronounce this? Or it's like if someone told me, they showed me this word and they say, how do you pronounce that? And I say, well, it depends on the situation. So we're kind of thinking about the pieces over here, like what does a word mean or what is the pronunciation, but it depends on the situation. So it's always good to learn from both. So natives are also asking questions about the different pieces of the language, but we also want to understand from the situation as well, like, oh, this would, it could be read or it could be read, depending on the situation. Isn't that weird? All right, so again, when we're trying to look at something in isolation like that, most natives, actually pretty much all natives, especially ones that don't know anything about or who don't know anything about teaching specifically, like what particular grammar points mean or whatever, they're just thinking about what they use in a particular situation, and it's like what feels right as you learn or as you try to explain something. So if you ask, how do you read that? How do you say that? They will say, well, it depends on the situation. Are you talking about the present, like I'm reading a book or something? Or am I talking about the past? I read a book yesterday. Okay, so same thing. Instead of only asking about a particular grammar point, try to think situationally what is happening, what are natives doing when they're in a particular situation, and then what are the words that they use to describe that. It becomes a lot easier to understand that. But sometimes it does take, you know, a bit of untangling, and you know that's what I'm trying to do to help people really understand things. But let me know if that makes sense, and hopefully you guys are getting it here. All right, and Richard says, can you talk about your book, please? Yeah, so very quickly, it's called The Strangest Fluency Secret. You can get it at the link in the description below. I'm still in the process of writing it, but it's only the last 2 chapters that I have left to release. The whole system and like all this talking about like how to learn and understand things from the pieces, but also from the situation. That's all available right now in the book. But the basic idea is, like what I talked about in this video, most learners believe, and you ask pretty much anybody about how they would learn a language, and even ChatGPT, if you ask ChatGPT how should you learn a language, you know, it's going to give you typical advice, except for my ChatGPT, because now I taught it kind of how to teach. But you still need, you know, real examples of native speakers actually doing things. But the basic idea of the book is that most people begin with they're trying to speak to feel certain and confident. So this is obviously you're learning, there's like the learning part here too, but it's basically learning, and then you try to speak as much as you can, if you can. Lots of people don't really have speaking partners, but then they try to feel certain and confident, and the goal is to become fluent by speaking. That's the idea. But my book, it's talking about the opposite approach. So basically I have an alternative way. The things I do in my videos here, when I talk about the book, what I do in Fluent for Life, all of that, it's all the same principle of the opposite approach. So we want to feel confident first and then speak as a result. That's the idea. And so for many people, the traditional way of learning is really difficult because their vocabulary is not magnetic when they start. And that means that they actually don't understand things very well. They don't feel confident about the words because usually they just don't know them very well. Maybe they get a translation or a definition. They're trying to memorize phrase books, and a lot of people are learning English through their native language, which you don't have to do, but many people do that because that's the only way they think it's possible to learn, unfortunately. I'm trying to change that, but I'm just one guy, and it's taken me 20 years even to get here of trying to explain to people what they really need, because it's actually quite simple. But if you look at the traditional way that people try to learn languages, it's actually a very frustrating and slow and inefficient process. So you try learning, maybe you understand, maybe you do not. But most people do not feel supremely confident about their vocabulary as they're learning. So they think, okay, I don't really understand so well. Now if I try to speak, maybe I will start feeling confident then. And so this is where people get the idea of like speaking practice. And so this is why people are always, you know, they're constantly looking for speaking partners. And in every YouTube video I do, people will say, hey, who wants to get together to practice speaking or whatever? And speaking is great. Speaking is the goal. That's what I'm trying to get to as well. But notice, speaking is the end game for me. When I'm trying to help people learn, I don't force them to say anything before they feel ready, because what is the point? It's just going to make them feel frustrated. And so we're trying to learn something. Maybe people understand it, maybe they don't, and then they try to speak, and then hopefully at some point, maybe they become fluent. But this is really where people get all these ideas about, I need to live in an English-speaking country, or I need to be young, I need to speak every day, I need to be married or have a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and that's how I get fluent. But it's actually much simpler than that, like I've shown right in this video. If you actually learn and understand something, the learning process gives you the confidence in your vocabulary, and then you speak. Okay, so that's the idea. So that's why I call it the strangest fluency secret. So the idea is that you do the opposite of what everybody else does. But it's much easier, and especially like for the traditional way you learn something, and the lessons are usually not very good because they're not thorough. They don't really help you understand something. And they don't help you understand it enough to feel confident about using your vocabulary. And so you learn something, you don't understand it well, and you think, I have to speak, but I don't feel confident. And a bigger problem for many learners is they don't have anyone to speak with. That's why they're in the comment sections of YouTube videos asking for speaking practice partners. but you don't need one. And like it's a lot easier like when people think about learning this way of, okay, instead of trying to learn something but I don't really understand it very well, and then try to speak when that's even more nervous making. I could feel a lot more worried about that because now I'm not just learning by myself, I'm actually making mistakes or saying things wrong or writing things wrong. Like I'm sending emails and using the wrong grammar or whatever. If it's important to you, like you're using English professionally, then you should be correct and you should be feeling confident about what you want to say. And so again, you go from the learning phase to speaking, and then hopefully at some point, and this is why people think, like I talked at the beginning of this video about a person emailing me, like I often get, is not just one person who did this, but the typical mail is, how can I learn things faster? How can I learn more words? But the assumption is like, if I learn more words, I'll be able to speak. But you can just look at the email and see the opposite is true. Like, wait a minute, the words you already know are incorrect. So why would you think you need to know more words? Why do you think that's the problem? But most people, they just don't see it. And I understand, because everybody tells you, hey, you have to speak if you want to learn a language. You have to speak. And like you might have heard of Stephen Krashen, like he agrees with the same idea. So he talks about also getting comprehensible input, but the problem, not really the problem with it, but most people don't really understand the point of it as we're trying to get to certainty. We really want to have you feel sure and confident. We want to remove the doubt. So the point is not just to get comprehensible input, like I'm watching things I understand. I'm not really sure about it until I feel confident that I could use something. So if I'm in a conversation and I'm trying to speak something, but I'm not really sure about what it means, then the vocabulary is not magnetic. I don't actually know it well enough. So I need to get my questions answered. But once I do, it's a very quick process of, okay, now I understand something and I can continue to speak. All right, so in the book, I talk about why this works and how to do it, and it's very easy because you're spending most of your time learning just by yourself because you don't need anyone. You don't need a teacher to correct your mistakes because the examples correct the mistakes for you. It's the same thing we do with Fluent for Life. So when people ask me, how can a video course get you fluent? I say, well, how can you not get fluent with actual lessons with native speakers? And so it's like lots of people do take private lessons and they still don't speak very well. They might speak with their teacher, but they have very little confidence talking with native speakers. And so it's not like private lessons make you fluent or video courses do not make you fluent. The point is how you're learning actually making you feel confident about what you want to say. That's basically it. Because it doesn't matter where you live or how old you are, if you don't feel confident about your words, you're going to struggle to say them. That's just the plain truth everybody experiences, but they often think it's because they don't speak enough or they don't know enough words or whatever. But try to keep the problem very simple and small, and it's much easier to see it that way. Like in that mail I talked about at the beginning of this video. So if you're asking me how to learn more words faster, but in the same mail, you're making lots of basic mistakes with the words you already know, that's a problem. And that's the real problem you should fix. So if you think about it, it's like, oh, I actually, when I'm trying to speak, I feel doubt about my words, and that's what stops me from speaking. So this was my personal experience after I struggled to learn languages for 15 years. Even when I was living with natives and trying to speak out here in Japan for the first year I was here, I wasn't making much progress at all. I was understanding people a little bit better, but not actually feeling like I was becoming a more confident speaker. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm kind of spending all my time thinking about different methods, and the better question is, what's actually stopping me from speaking? And so I realized, oh, it's the doubts I have about, like, what does this word mean? Or am I using this grammar point correctly, or whatever? So any of those kinds of questions that you have, they will stop you from speaking. But as soon as you answer those questions, when the doubts are gone, nothing stops you from speaking, so you can express yourself. So it's more about removing the barriers that stop you from communicating than trying to just add more stuff, like the bucket example at the beginning of this video. If we have a bucket and I keep pouring more words in here, I keep studying more and more, but there's holes in the bottom of the bucket and the words just like they drain away anyway, what is the point? It's much better to fix the actual problem, and then I can put in as many words as I like, and I will understand things and actually feel confident about speaking. All right, so that's the idea of the book, The Strangest Fluency Secret, if you'd like to learn more, and it will show you exactly what to do, and it will actually transform your way of learning, so you transform the way you speak. But that's what we do in the book, and you can get the book at the link in the description below this video. All right, looks like we got a couple more questions here. Tsubasa Drew Sensei, Ohio, look at that with the DAP there. And Adelson said, or if, excuse me, Adnilso. You see how I'm doing this? Sometimes it takes me a while to pronounce certain things, but hello, nice to see you. And then we've got some, looks like Cyrillic, I can't read. Will you save this after? Oh, I mean will, like will I, not wool, like sheep, like wool or whatever. Yes, I will keep this video available like I do for all of my videos. And again, how's the weather in Japan? Last time the video was cut off. Boomer. You would say bummer. A bummer, that's like you feel kind of bummed out or you're sad or depressed about something. That's a bummer. So yes, it was a bummer, not a boomer. A boomer would be like, hey, that's an exciting thing. But a bummer, I'm guessing that's what you're trying to say, that's when something is kind of disappointing. So yes, I don't know why that happened. Weather is fine today, and the video seems to be doing all right. People are still here. All right, we got Zip with a great lesson. Taco says, let someone do versus have someone do. Okay. If I'm trying to let someone do something, I'm kind of controlling their ability to do it. I actually have a whole lesson set on this in Fluent for Life about let versus make versus have. And I think I have the grammar focus video from that is on the YouTube channel. You should watch that one. So it's like let versus make versus have for things like that, but you'll see the example of it. But typically, like letting someone do it, like let's say I'm walking my dog over here. So here's that kind of looks like a dog, I guess. Kind of, it's kind of messy, a messy dog. But I'm walking it and like, I'm kind of letting the dog walk around this area, but maybe I let the dog off the leash. So I let him run. So now I don't have the leash anymore. I let him do something. I'm not having him doing it. I'm not like, encouraging him to go do whatever. I'm just letting him do whatever he wants to. I let it happen, all right? So if I want to have him do something for me, I might maybe like throw a stick over here and I might have him fetch the stick. Or maybe I'm out, shooting birds or something like that, and I kill a duck and the duck flies or falls down, and then I have my dog bring it back to me. So I don't let him do that. I'm actually encouraging him. I want him to take that kind of action. So when you let someone do something, you're basically giving them freedom to do whatever. But if you have them do something, it's more about getting them to do a particular thing you want them to do. So I might have you write an essay for school. But if I just let you write an essay for school, it's like, I don't really care. It's like, go ahead and do whatever you like, all right? So that's let versus have. But you should search for that video on the channel, and you'll see more detail about that. I think I'm at the aquarium in Kyoto, where I shot some of the video for that. So let someone do versus have someone do. So again, if I let someone do something, like someone is walking here and I just let them go. I let them, like it's okay, you can, you're free to do that. But if I have someone do something, I'm kind of either getting them or forcing them or whatever, but they are doing something intentional for me that I want. All right, Ruben says, for example, when you're playing a PlayStation and your mom says, have you done your homework? Then your answer, It's being done now, yes. So yes, like it would be grammatically correct, but maybe it would not describe the situation. So you could tell your mom, yes, like, yeah, it's being done right now. So what's the weather like? Yes, you could say, what's the weather like, or how's the weather? And Uzmanov again, finally, I get it. Your method makes learning effortless. Okay, that's awesome. That's what we're going for. So this is what we do, like in Fluent for Life. The whole point is for the learning to feel automatic and easy for you. So it's just, now I get it. And so when I explained before about the differences between what people are typically doing for learning versus not learning, like, or excuse me, the typical way of learning where you're trying to learn and then speak to become fluent, it's a much more difficult process for people. But if I can control the learning, if I can make sure you understand things well, then you will feel confident about that. You will actually, without going out and trying to speak or repeat things or whatever, you will feel confident first, and then you will naturally want to speak. Speaking becomes inevitable if you feel confident about your words, because what else would stop you really? The thing that really stops people is just the doubts or the questions or things like that. So that's why I get all these questions and I just go through them and try to make sure I answer those to make sure people understand. Hammett says, hello, sir. Augusto says, you have a good beard now, teacher. It's people commenting on the beard over here. Ruben, with your way of teaching English, I can improve my English quickly. Thanks a lot. Yes, that's the idea. And so again, the point is to be efficient about it. If I can help you understand things quickly, I erase the doubt quickly. I answer the questions quickly. I help you understand things quickly. That's when you start speaking quickly. So you don't have to be worried about, like, why don't I understand things or whatever. It's just we answer the questions and make sure you get it. So I think about that in my mind, like I imagine people getting it, and I keep working until they get it. That's the idea. Augusto again, also with this way I learned a lot. Glad to hear it. So Hammett says again, it's easier, but it'll take more time. And this is one last point I'll make for this video about the time it takes to get fluent with what I recommend versus what other people do. Not only is it easier, it's also faster, and I explain why in the book. But if you think about the way that people typically learn languages, I'll use my very simple chart over here. We'll talk about F over here as like fluency level, and over here time. People who are typically trying to learn the traditional way, where they spend a lot of time like learning stuff and then maybe trying to speak if they could find a speaking partner. But it's usually just it's like a lifelong process of frustration, unfortunately. And so that's because they're basically on a plateau like this that's just going on forever. Like that leaky bucket example, you learn something new and then the old things you forget, and then you learn something new and then the old things you forget, and then basically you're not really becoming more confident and fluent because your magnetic or your vocabulary never really becomes magnetic. And so at first, it seems like it's a faster way to learn, but it's actually not. Because again, it doesn't matter if you learn more quickly if you forget what you learn or if you can't feel confident using it, okay? So with what I do, my way, the opposite way, yes, initially, at first, at the beginning, at the start, it's going to take a little bit longer, but very quickly we move up and we start making exponential progress, because when you know something well, it's much easier to learn new things. But if you don't know things well, then you don't really make very good connections, and it just, again, becomes a much more difficult process and a longer experience of you staying on this level. So the fluency level is never increasing, although you are adding more vocabulary. So you feel like you understand more, but you're wondering, why do I know words, but I can't use them? Why can I understand when other people speak to me, but I don't feel confident speaking? And the simple answer for most learners is you don't actually have a magnetic vocabulary. You don't really feel confident about what you want to say. You don't know it well enough, so of course you can't speak. But the simple truth is also, if you fix that problem, if you answer those questions, if you end the doubts, then you start speaking. That's how it works. And so, yes, initially there's a difference here where it seems like the traditional way is faster. So if I were to take kind of two groups of people and teach them in two different classrooms, one is going to be traditional lessons, one is going to be my way, at first, like you're going to have people over here seeming like the like wow, like we just learned 10 new words today, but Drew is only teaching us like 3 or 4. It's like no, Drew's way it must be slower. But again, if we only look at the very beginning, then yes, that's true. But if you're thinking about language learning as a continuous process, and for most people it is, then obviously my way is going to win for sure very quickly. And it happens very quickly too. Like this isn't like, years or months or whatever. It's like, within a few hours or a few days or whatever, you can actually start feeling much more confident about your vocabulary if you learn it efficiently and you actually understand and feel confident. So I know the goal for what I do is helping people get it. If you get it, then you can use it. But if you don't get it, then you can't use it. So if you don't understand, then you can't use it, all right? So again, it might seem like it's slower, but it's not. And again, most of the people who are following me, like they have been on this plateau for years already. They already know a lot of English, but it's that leaky bucket example where they still don't feel so confident about what they want to say. Right. So Augusta says understand and then learn. Yeah, so the point is like learning should give you understanding. So you need some language foundations, some structures. Yes, and again, you can learn all that the same way I'm teaching here. That's how it works. Let's see, George says the Shiba Inu. It could be. Elder says, hi there, Drew. How have you been? Let's learn some English this morning with you. Have a beautiful day, mate. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Hope you've been doing well. Alan says, nice to meet you again. Oh no, my phone is dying over here. Why the hell? That's weird. Anyway, and greetings from Mexico, and GP71_00 says, your voice is just perfect. Well, glad to hear it. Enjoy. And Richard said, is there a preview of the book available? Well, you're basically getting the preview right now here, but it's only $9 if you click on the link at the description, and basically just, would you like to know exactly what's wrong and how to fix it for $9? If it's worth it to you to spend $9 to fix that, even if the book was bad, you could still get a refund on it. I mean, nobody is doing that anyway, but people enjoy the book, and it works, and it actually will help you understand what the problem is, which is worth way more than $9. I wish I knew this, if I knew this when I was learning languages at the beginning, I would feel a lot more confident, and I would have gotten fluent in even more languages. It would have been a much easier process for me. But yeah, so there's no text preview of the book, but what you're learning in this video is basically that. So Tuck says, if I say I'm letting the chicken sit for some minutes, is it the same sense as letting someone do? Yeah, so it's just like, I'm just letting it do its thing. So if maybe you cook a chicken or you bake a pie and you let it sit, I'm just like, letting it do that thing. So it's not even like it has to be an activity, it's just I'm kind of letting it be free, without touching it. Hammond says, I don't use a word in all its potential uses. You teach all the uses of the word then. I don't teach all the ways a word could be used. It's more like for a particular situation, you should just feel confident about what you're trying to say. And typically you will learn more uses of words, and this is exactly how it happens for natives. So they begin with something like I gave the example with messy in this video, and as you learn more, like my children learn new uses of the same thing, but we can speed run that. We can actually give you more examples, and it's not about trying to give you every example. Like we don't begin with a word like could and then say, okay, now we're going to learn this and that and this and that. That's not how you teach vocabulary like that, or not, at least if you want to make it easy and memorable for people. Typically, I would begin with a situation where could is used, like could I get your name, or could I ask you a question, or could I do something. So that's one usage of it, and I'm really helping you understand that usage so you feel confident about it. But you will hear natives use could in other situations, or maybe it means something different or whatever. But the point is not to try to drill all of these things and try to understand them. It's like, understand this one thing and then use that to connect to other meanings or understand new words. All right. So if you don't like this approach or you don't like what I do, feel free to learn however you like. I'm not stopping you. I will let you learn however you like. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. This way of learning, it worked for me. It continues to work for me, and it's worked for lots of people I've helped, and that's why I continue doing it. But some people maybe like doing things a different way. But I have not personally found in the 20 years plus that I've been teaching a better way to help people understand a language, especially if they're learning by themselves in some village and don't have anybody to speak with, because what's your alternative really? Lots of people don't have speaking practice partners, so if you tell them, hey, go online and meet people to speak with, it's like, yeah, you can do that, and I'd show people how to do that as well, but for me, it's more about how do you get people to practice speaking after they already feel confident about what they want to say. Okay? So again, I'm not forcing anybody to learn this way. If you're on my channel and you want to learn this way, great. Like, I would put my approach against any other approach of people trying to learn languages, other than like the Matrix. You plug a wire into the back of your head and it's like now I know Portuguese or whatever, and I'm just able to speak. Of course, I would do that approach too. And so if people were doing that, like, hey, I would do that as well. So I'm hoping that's possible. Now, people think like ChatGPT is going to save them, but again, ChatGPT is number one, it's still teaching people typically in the way that people, like anybody would teach languages, because nobody really teaches in the way I talk about in the book. Like, really nobody is doing that. There's a kind of idea with comprehensible input for that, but most people are not really recognizing that the goal is actually to feel certain and confident about what you want to say. That's the idea. But that's how it works. All right, let's see. Alan says, is the book sent by email? Yes. Well, it's not sent by mail, but you get access to it in an online account, but it's digital. I will probably release a physical version in the future. I'm thinking about that, but right now I'm writing it with learners, so I'm releasing the chapters. Anybody here who has already read the first six chapters, let me know what you think. If you have any questions or whatever, you can tell me here or send us a mail or whatever. But that way I can write things and make sure I put all of that information in the book. Let's see, Peter says, hello, Drew. My name is Peter. How can I buy your book from Russia? I don't know if, it was a pain once the war started and people were unable to like join programs and purchase things. I would recommend just using a VPN. People do that, or get someone else to buy it for you and then send it to you that way. All right, Hammond says, okay, thanks for explaining it. Find it really working, glad to hear it. And Tuck says, thanks a lot. You would say thanks, or you could say thank you a lot. Anyway, all right, well, I'm done. Let's see, we've gone 87 minutes. Oh my goodness, like an hour and a half on this video. But hopefully people get the idea. It really is very simple to become confident and fluent, but try to think about it, kind of prove it to yourself with like specific things. If you can become confident and fluent in a particular word, then what would stop you from becoming confident and fluent in all kinds of words? All right, that's the basic idea. So try to think about like a method working for a particular thing. And usually when people get those aha moments of, I didn't understand something before, now I do, now I feel confident about how something could be used, that's when you start speaking. All right, so you don't need to force yourself, you don't need to find a practice partner. The problem is most likely for most people, like if I were to sit with you and have a conversation with you about learning, it would probably be that you have doubts about things you want to say, and that's it. But if you can solve those doubts, you will feel much more confident about expressing yourself. All right, well, that's the end for me. If you would like to get the book or you want to learn more about Fluent for Life, you can click on the links in the description below this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.